You need to study, and so do I.
Welcome back to Prep With Me, where we prepare for the SHRM-CP exam together. The guide to this study series is the SHRM Body of Applied Skills and Knowledge, or BASK. We're still inside the Leadership and Navigation Behavioral Competency, and today's topic is Managing HR Initiatives. This is where leadership meets logistics, where strategic intentions turn into actual work, and where SHRM scenario questions get very real world. So what is the sub-competency of managing HR initiatives? Well, the BASK stipulates implementing and supporting HR projects that align with HR and organizational objectives. Managing HR initiatives means planning, organizing, tracking, and adjusting HR projects so they support organizational goals. Managing HR initiatives has 7 proficiency indicators. Let's break each one down. 1. Define and elaborate on project requirements set by leadership. Leadership gives the vision, HR clarifies the actual work. This includes defining deliverables, timelines, owners, success criteria, and constraints. Your cue here is clarify before you execute. So for the test, choose answers where HR asks clarifying questions, defines scope, deliverables, timelines, confirms expectations with leadership, and translates big goals into actionable steps. Avoid answers where HR jumps in without gathering any requirements. Question: Leadership announces a new mentorship program. HR schedules a meeting to clarify goals, scope, selection criteria, and expected outcomes before designing the program. What's HR demonstrating? A. Monitoring resources. B. Defining project requirements. C. Evaluating culture. Or D. Agile decision making. The answer is B. Defining project requirements. In this example, before planning, HR is clarifying expectations, enabling them to be specific in their definitions of project requirements aligned to leadership intent. 2. Sets and monitors project goals and progress milestones. HR must break projects into steps, set measurable checkpoints, and track progress. This prevents surprises and keeps projects on schedule. You should plan it, track it, adjust it. For the test, pick answers where HR creates timelines, tracks milestones, updates stakeholders, and uses dashboards or check-ins. Avoid answers where HR only reacts after a deadline is missed. Question: An HR team launches an onboarding redesign and sets monthly checkpoints to track progress and adjust tasks. This demonstrates A. Monitoring culture, B. Organizational alignment, C. Budget management, or D. Setting and monitoring milestones. The answer is D. Setting and monitoring milestones. Milestone planning plus regular check-ins, that's the core behavior of deliberate monitoring for projects. 3. Manages project budgets and resources. Resources don't just equal dollars. HR projects require funding, yeah, of course, but also time, people, and tools to achieve our goals. Managing initiatives means allocating these resources, monitoring the usage, and staying within the limits set for the project. Manages project budgets and resources is using, controlling, and allocating the approved budget and resource pool. It's about execution and control, not necessarily identification of the resource. It's financial stewardship, plus real-time management of assigned staff time tools. So for the test, choose answers where HR tracks spending, requests needed resources, reassesses people, time, and plans within the constraints. They manage budgets and resources. The correct answer will involve cost tracking, reassigning resources, managing spending or utilization, or adjusting the resource allocation. Avoid any answer where HR ignores resources or overspends. Here's a question. HR is implementing a new LMS and tracks vendor costs, training hours, and internal labor usage to ensure the project stays within the budget. Which skill is this? A. Managing project resources and budget. B. Defining project scope. C. Cultural alignment. Or D. Strategic planning. The answer is A. Managing project resources and budget. Monitoring the cost and resource usage is explicitly part of managing project budgets and resources. 4. Identify and solve obstacles. HR professionals identify and develop solutions for overcoming obstacles to the successful completion of projects. Every HR project can hit a snag: technology delays, manager bandwidth, resistance, missing data. HR must anticipate, troubleshoot, and escalate when needed to solve these problems. For the test, correct answers involve diagnosing obstacles, troubleshooting issues, creating workaround solutions, and adjusting plans to remove barriers. Avoid answers where HR ignores the problem. Question. During a performance management rollout, managers report confusion about new rating definitions. HR quickly creates quick reference guides and a Q&A session. This reflects A. Evaluating readiness. B. Strategic planning. C. Identifying and solving obstacles to project success. Or D. Managing project resources. The answer is C. Identifying and solving obstacles to project success. In this example, HR is removing a barrier to successful implementation of the new performance management rollout. They addressed gaps in knowledge that may have stalled the project otherwise, creating a solution as indicated by the proficiency. Identify and solve obstacles. 5. Identify and monitor necessary resources. Identifying and monitoring the resources necessary to implement and maintain HR projects is the core of this proficiency. It's about keeping tabs on everything a project needs: system access, subject matter experts, their availability, internal approvals, staffing hours, vendor support, space, equipment. This proficiency is about figuring out what resources the project needs and tracking whether they will remain available. While the language of this proficiency sounds similar to managing resources, the concept actually refers to two different levels of resource work. Identifying and monitoring necessary resources is about resource planning plus awareness. It's not about money, it's about capacity, personnel, materials, information, and the systems needed for success. So for the test, look for HR anticipating resource needs, continuously checking that resources remain sufficient, adjusting workloads, coordinating with IT, finance, or other departments. Identifying and monitoring resource equals determining and tracking what a project needs. The correct answer here will involve anticipating needs, keeping track of capacity, and ensuring the project has the tools, subject matter experts, time, or access. Question. An HR specialist tracks available subject matter expert hours to ensure there'll be enough support to complete training module updates on time. This demonstrates A. Maintaining project documentation. B. Monitoring required resources for project completion. C. Conducting proper risk assessments. Or D. Delegating tasks. The answer is B. Monitoring required resources for project completion. They're just monitoring that resource availability, keeping tabs on it, exactly as this proficiency requires. 6. Recognize misaligned resources and adjust. HR professionals should identify when resource allocation is inconsistent with project needs and then make the proper adjustments as necessary. Sometimes a project has too few resources or resources that don't match the project. HR must identify this mismatch and then correct course. Our mental cue is, what we have is not the right match, so fix it. This is the stage of resource management of diagnosis and correction, with a focus on noticing when the resource assignments do not fit the actual project needs, and then you correct the mismatch. For the test, correct answers should include reallocating people, adjusting workload, escalating for more resources, and moving tasks to appropriate owners. You should avoid answers where HR continues a project with misaligned support. Question: a compliance project is falling behind because only one HR analyst is assigned and they lack technical expertise. HR then requests an additional analyst from the HRIS team. This might demonstrate A. Monitoring culture, B. Identifying resource misalignment and adjusting allocation, C. Creating strategic goals, or D. Ethical decision making. The answer is B. Identifying resource misalignment and adjusting allocation. The problem is just a resource mismatch. HR corrected it. That's the indicator. Proficiency Indicator 7. Demonstrate agility and adaptability. HR professionals should demonstrate agility and adaptability when project requirements, goals, or constraints change. Requirements change, budgets change, timelines, they shift. HR must adjust quickly and maintain progress. For the test, choose answers where HR reprioritizes tasks, adapts to new constraints, revises timelines, and rescopes projects based on new leadership direction. Avoid answers where HR rigidly follows a plan despite the changed condition. Question: midway through a training initiative, leadership cuts the budget. HR modifies the plan, prioritizing mandatory modules and converting optional modules to low-cost formats. This demonstrates A. Budget non-compliance, B. Agility in response to changing constraints, C. Incorrect workflow design, or D. Incorrect project scoping. The answer is B. Agility in response to changing constraints. When leadership changed constraints, HR changed course to accommodate. Great job. Let's move into the rapid review. 1. HR meets with leadership to clarify goals, scope, and deliverables before starting a new DEI project. This demonstrates A. Managing budgets, B. Monitoring milestones, C. Delegating tasks, or D. Defining project requirements. The answer is D. Defining project requirements. The key behavior here is clarifying expectations before execution. 2. HR sets weekly check-ins to track progress on an HRIS upgrade and uses the updates to adjust timelines. This reflects A. Setting and monitoring milestones, B. Demonstrating agility and adaptability, C. Cultural awareness, or D. Managing resistance. The answer is A. Setting and monitoring milestones. Tracking milestones plus adjusting timelines, that equals project monitoring. 3. HR realizes a project team lacks enough skilled analysts and requests additional support. This is A. Risk analysis, B. Identifying and monitoring necessary resources, C. Identifying resource misalignment and adjusting allocation, or D. training evaluation. The answer is C, identifying resource misalignment and adjusting allocation. This is exactly what SHRM describes, noticing mismatched resources and correcting it. The trap here, those 3 resource indicators might look identical under the Managing HR Resources Proficiency. Most HR professionals in real life wouldn't distinguish between identifying resources, managing resources, or correcting the misalignment. But SHRM does, and they do it deliberately. So in this example, the project was already underway, so the most appropriate answer was identifying the problem and correcting it. 4. During implementation of a new policy, HR provides clarifying tools and extra communication after discovering manager confusion. This demonstrates A. Addressing obstacles to successful project completion. B. Revising goals. C. Managing performance. Or D. Influencing culture. The answer is A. Addressing obstacles to successful project completion. Manager confusion is an obstacle, so HR removes it. 5. Leadership changes project scope midway due to budget pressure. HR adjusts that plan and then reorganizes the priorities. This reflects A. Ethical decision making. B. Recognizing misaligned resources and adjusting. C. Agility and adaptability in project execution. Or D. Navigating the organization. This answer is C. Agility and adaptability in project execution. Responding effectively to shifting constraints is the essence of agility. We eliminate the misaligned resources answer because, while maybe it's close, it's not the best answer. We can see in this example the goals have changed from the leadership. HR then moved to adapt to the new scope, making agility the best answer. Great work! You just completed Managing HR Initiatives, a core skill in our leadership and navigation. If this helped you with your SHRM prep, please like, subscribe, and then join me for Lesson 9. We're going to cover the last element within Leadership and Navigation Cluster,